Hello friends, welcome to my channel Power BI Skills. Through this channel, I share with my viewers a lot of tips, tricks, and best practices in Power BI in order to develop stunning dashboards. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you a very effective trick of showing the Power BI visual with monthly trend analysis, where we'll be showing the fixed number of last month's trend with the help of a measure. See, this is a simple column visual showing the monthly trend of last 17 months of sales. This is a lot of data. Now let's assume if I have to present the data only for the last 4 months, then I'll have to create a slicer. I'll be creating a slicer for the month data. I'll be adding month. And let me just format the month by selecting a drop down. Now this is a month slicer. If I want to see only the 4 months data, then I'll be selecting those last 4 months manually. Let's say if viewer want to see the data for prior months, then viewer will have to manually select the prior months. Let's say if viewer want to see the data for January and the prior months, then viewer will have to manually select the months from the slicer, all the prior months, whatever viewer wants to see. Now the question is this an effective way of presenting the data? Now this is another column visual where we have last 4 months of data. Now in this visual, if I select any of the month, I'll get the data for the prior 4 months starting from the month which I have selected. So this is the more clean and effective way of presenting the data. Now look at this visual. In this column visual, we have incorporated a dynamic slider. Through this slider, we can select the number of months for which we want to see the trend. For example, if we want to see the trend for 4 months, we'll get the trend for 4 months starting from the month which we have selected in the slicer. If we want to see the trend for 6 months, we'll get the trend for 6 months prior to the month which we have selected in the slicer. In addition to this, we can also incorporate the field parameters to show not only the sales trend, so we can also show the trend for total cost. We can also show the trend for profit and loss we have generated and the trend for quantity sold as well. We will learn all this in our today's video, but before we proceed further, I would like to request you to please like and share my videos in case you believe that you are enhancing your Power BI knowledge through these videos. In case you are new to my channel, then I would request you to please subscribe my channel by hitting the subscribe button and press the bell icon so that you will get the notification to all my future videos. Your like and subscribe will motivate me to make more such useful contents for my viewers. Now let's get started. So this is the example data set which we'll be using in our today's video. This is a data set showing monthly sales, showing the total quantity sold, selling price, cost price, and the respective months. Let's upload this data set in Power BI. Now I have uploaded my data file in Power BI. You can see the data is appearing on the right hand side. Now I'll first create a measure to calculate the total sales value. For that, I will click on three dots. I will select new measure. I'll name this measure as total sales, and here I'll be using my SumX function. In the syntax, I'll have to first give the table reference. My table is sales report, and then it would be simple quantity multiplied by selling price. So column reference quantity sold multiplied by column reference selling price. Similarly, I will create another measure for total cost. So this would also be SumX function. My table would be same sales report, and here quantity multiplied by total cost would be my cost price. Sorry, the quantity multiplied by cost price would be my total cost. Now I have a total sales, I have total cost. I can calculate profit or loss, which is total sales minus total cost. For that, I'll create a new measure. I'll name this measure as profit or loss. So this would be my total sales minus total cost. I have all these measures. Let me first create my simple column visual. In X's, I will add month. I will remove quarter and day. And in Y-axis, I'll add total sales. If I drag it, let me expand this. And if I drill down to month level, so you can see we have a data appearing for all 17 months. If I format this, I will go to size and style. Let me add the visual borders. Okay, if I have to show the trend analysis for last 4 months or 4 months only, basis the selected month, for that we'll have to create a measure. But before creating a measure, we'll have to first create a date table or a calendar table, I would say. For that, I will go to data view. I'll go to home, and here I will select new table. I'll name this as date table. I will use my calendar function to calculate or create a new date table, and I will give a start date and end date. My start date would be 1st January 2022, and my end date would be 31st December 2023. So I have already covered this concept in details in my previous video, where I have explained how to create a calendar table and how to create a fiscal calendar table with the help of DAX function. You can refer to that video. So I'll be adding few more column in this date table. For that, I'll be using a DAX function add columns. I'll shift enter. I will add a column name year, and here I will be using the year function. Date range I have already mentioned, which we have calculated above. So that would be my date range. I will add another uh, column, which is quarter, and here I'll be using quarter function. But before that, I'll be using a prefix q. So this would give me the quarter number, quarter, and the date range which we have calculated above. Same date range would be used. Then we have column name month number. Here I'll be using month function, same date table. And last, I will use month name. For that, I'll be using format. Here I'll first give the date, and then I will mention the format month name, which is MMMM in inverted commas. Now if I hit enter, I'll have all the columns. So this is my date table. I'll also create another table which would be a duplicate of this date table. I'll name this table as new date table. So for that, I'll be using date table only. So this is an exact duplicate of my date table. I'll explain you why I have created the new date table. Now I have three tables. First, which is my sales report, then the date table or the calendar table, which we have calculated with the help of calendar and other functions, and then the duplicate of the date table. Now I'll go to the model view and I'll build the relationship between these three tables. So we have a month in the sales report and date table. But before we going to building this relationship, I'll add one more column in the date table and the new date table as well, which is end of month. For that, I will go to date table and three dots. I'll add new column and I'll name this new column as end of month. Here I'll be using end of month function and give the date reference. So here I'll have to give the date table and then date. I'll hit enter. Now we have end of month against all the date appearing in the first column. I'll format this end of month column in the month name format, which is this one, month and year. Now I have date table, new date table, and the sales report. Now I'll go to model view to build a relationship between these three tables. First, I'll build a relationship between my sales report and the date table. I will drag my date to month. I'll go to manage relationship by clicking on this relationship. I'll select one to many, and I'll select single. Okay. And same, I would build a relationship between new date table and date table by dragging the date to the date table. And here also I will click on this relationship, select one to many, single, and I will, for now, I will make this relationship inactive. I'll uncheck this. Okay. Now I have created a relationship between these three tables. I will go to my report view. Here I will create a new measure in the sales report. I'll name this measure as total sales trend analysis. I'll first create a variable. I'll name this variable as maximum month. This is the last month which we have in our sales report data, or in our entire database. So for that, I'll be using a function max, and here I'll be using my uh, date table date information. So I'll write date table date. I'll create another variable. I'll name this variable month trend. Here I'll be using a, a function, DAX function dates in period. So first I will give the date range. So here I'll be using my new date table date column, and then I will be giving the maximum month which we have calculated in, or I would say the last month of the available data. So that would be the variable which we have calculated above, max month. And let's say if we want to see the data for 4 months starting from the maximum or the latest month which we have selected, so that would be -4. So let's say the last month or the maximum month which we have selected is uh, December, December 23rd. So 4 months prior to December would be your September, October, November, December. So -4 would be the intervals, and then we want this intervals in months. So that would be my trend. I will shift enter, and then I will return. With return, I will have to calculate my sales trend. So I will write calculate. So total sales, we have already calculated the measure for total sales. So I'll be using the total sales only. Now I will also use a function remove filters, and I would be removing the filters from the date table. And I will rather using the filters from the month trend which variable which we have calculated above. So here I'll be selecting the keep filter for month trend only, and then we have to calculate the user relationship for the date table date and new date table date. So we'll have to build a relationship between date table and new date table. This is it, and now we have a measure ready. I'll hit enter. Now I have a measure for total sales trend. Before using this measure, I'll first add a slicer, and in this slicer I'll be using my date range in terms of month. So I'll go to date table. I'll be using end of month here, and I'll go to format, and I will select the drop down settings from the slicer setting style. Now I'll select my column visual. I will go to column visual. I'll pick the month from a new date table, and here I will select the date. Here I'll be using only the day, year and month, and I will, in y-axis I will select my measure, which is total sales trend analysis. Now if I select, let's say, February 23, you can see the trend is showing for last 4 months starting from the month we have selected. If I select January, then I'll get the trend for 4 months starting from January. Similarly, for December, we'll get the trend for 4 months starting from December. Now it is showing the 4 months trend. Uh, I will also add the data labels here. So for that, I will enable the data labels. So this is the sales trend, sales value, which is appearing as data label. And I will format this labels. Similarly, I will just format the slicer as well by adding the visual border and rounded corners. So this is about showing, or with the help of measure, we can create a trend for fixed number of months or fixed number of prior months. Now let's go one step further, and we will also add a slider which would help us to create the trend for the number of month which we select from the slider. To do this, we'll have to go to modeling, and then we'll have to select new parameter, and here I'll be selecting numeric range, and in the parameter name I would write number of months trend. Minimum I will say 1, maximum I want to see maximum 12 months of trend, incremental in 1, and default is, let's say, 4 months. I will create this. Now you can see I have a slider which is appearing, showing the number of month trend. But this slider is not working because it is not linked with the column visual which is appearing below. To link the slider with the column visual, we'll have to go back to our measure, select the measure, and here instead of -4 we will write selected value, and here we will write the numeric parameters we have calculated, number of month trend. I'll close the bracket and I will multiply this with -1 because we have to see the trend analysis for the prior month starting from the month selected. I will hit enter. Now you can see if I will slide this to, let's say, 4 months, then we'll see the trend for 4 months. If I want to see the trend from April, so this is showing from April. If I want to see from July, this would show from July. If I want to see the trend for 6 months, so I'll see the trend for 6 months. So now this is a dynamic slider where we can see the trend analysis based on the number of months selected from the dynamic slider and the month which we have selected from the slicer as well. Now this is showing the trend analysis for sales value. So if we want to see the trend for the total cost, total quantity sold, and profit and loss as well, for that we'll have to create a separate measure for all these parameters. So let me first select my measure for total sales trend analysis. I'll copy that and I'll create a new measure. And instead of sales, I will write total cost trend analysis. And here in calculate, I will write total cost measure, and rest everything would remain same. I will hit enter. Similarly, I will create new measure for total profit or loss trend analysis. Here instead of total sales, I will select total profit or loss trend analysis, hit enter, and I will create one last measure. I will name this measure as total quantity sold trend analysis. Now, since we do not have any measure calculated for quantity sold, I will be using my sum function here, and here I will be using sales report quantity sold, and I will hit enter. Now we have different measure for quantity sold, sales, cost, profit and loss. Now I'll be using the functionality field parameters. I'll go to new parameters. Just like numeric range, I'll select the field parameter option. Here in the parameter name, I will select, or I will write selection criteria. and I will drag all my measures here. Total cost trend analysis, total profit and loss trend analysis, total quantity sold trend analysis, and total sales trend analysis. I will create a slicer for that. Now you can see there is a slicer here, and again I would format this slicer. First I will add the visual borders and rounded corners just like in other slicers, and here I would select a drop down option. Now I have created a new slicer for selection criteria with field parameters. This is not going to work till I would change my column visuals. Here also in total sales, in column Y, I would remove the total sales trend analysis, and I would rather add my selection criteria here. And since it is showing all, so that's why it is showing the data for all here. If I select total cost, I'll be getting the trend for total cost. Similarly for profit and sales, quantity sold, and total sales. And if I want to see it for 4 months, I'll get it for 4 months. Want to see it for 5 months, I'll get it for 5 months. Want to see it for maybe range starting from any other month, let's say from the month of December and prior months, I'll get it for December and prior month, and so on. So this is it. So in this video we have learned about how to create a trend analysis basis fixed number of months trend. We can have a dynamic month trends as well by adding or incorporating the slider to select a number of month trend we want to incorporate, and then we can have a field parameters to add other fields as well or other parameters as well apart from sales like total cost, profit and loss, quantity sold, and so on. I hope you have learned this wonderful trick of incorporating the monthly trends in your Power BI visuals. I'm sure you will be able to implement the same in your work assignments as well. In case you have any questions, then you can share your questions and queries through the comment section, and I'll try to respond to your questions as soon as possible. Thanks for watching this video, friends. Thanks for supporting my videos. Bye bye and take care.